today. Good morning, Beatrice, Alabama 36425. We hope everything is going well for you, and welcome to Beatrice, Alabama 36425. Today is Monday. Then again, it may be a Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday, maybe a Thursday, maybe a Friday. You never know. But we want to welcome you to House C Internet Radio, to our morning show, Beatrice, Alabama, coming to you from 231 6th Avenue, down south here in the big city of Beatrice, Alabama. House C Radio, located at 231 6th Avenue, down south in the big city of Beatrice, Alabama. We are your internet radio station. Stay right where you are. All right. How you doing today? God is awfully good. He has been blessing us. He is keeping us. And you can hear a sound as if you are in a little bit of a wind, where I have the fan turning here in the room across from me. That's the thing about these mics, that for the radio, they pick up just about everything. Beatrice, Alabama, located down south here. We're about 70 miles south of Montgomery on Highway 21 South, and about maybe 50, 60 miles from Mobile, Alabama. We are a farming place, a nice little town, small town, not a whole lot of people here, but God is good. Got some good things coming up this week. We got the June 10th celebration in Monroeville on the 18th. We also got the JFC's alumni doing a 5K run, a walk program, Alumni Association doing their thing out there at JFC's, and we hope you check all that out. But what are we going to be talking about today here in from Beatrice, Alabama? We're going to open up with the Monday, June the 13th, God puts down and lifts up. That's from Song 75. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We also are going to talk about, from the advisor for teachers, employees, and judicial people, federal windfall for Alabama by David Bronner, talking about how much taxes America gives to the United States, give to the state of Alabama. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about learning for justice and critical race theory, a number of other things. We hope you check it out. Give us a call at 1-251-362-1935. You can call the station through my cell phone, which I do not have hooked up right now, but we're going to hook it up here in a minute so that you can call the radio station at telephone number 1-251-362-1935. We hope that you will call us, talk about whatever you want to talk about. We're going to run a spot here. It runs about 3 minutes in the opening session of Good Morning, Beatrice, Alabama, 36425. Do you feel the beat? The beat, the beat, the beat of the beat at House C Internet Radio. At House C Internet Radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. We are your internet radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the We are your internet radio. Alright. Stay right there. Rock with me, rock. 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 All right. Like I said, we was going to start out with a look at songs 75. Song 75. And it is talking about ultimate triumph of the righteous. Ultimate triumph of the righteous. The ultimate triumph of the righteous. God is absolutely good. And he's good all the time, you know. We want to thank all of you all for being a part of Good Morning Beatrice, Alabama. Let's begin right quick. Unto thee, O God, do we give thanks. Unto thee do we give thanks, for thy name is near, thy wondrous works declared. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. Salam. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to be the wicked, lift not up the thorns. Lift not up the horns on high. Speak not with a stiff neck. You know what a stiff neck is? That's being stubborn. For promotions cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and sitteth up another. For in the hands of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is fully mixed, and he pours out of the same, but the dregs thereof all the wicked of the earth, and shall drain them and drink them. I will declare forever, I will sing praise to the God of Jacob. For all the thorns of the wickedness also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted, and all the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. Powerful words here for a Monday. In other words, Jesus Christ going to take care of his business. And if you take care of your business with Jesus Christ, he will be taking care of you. God is absolutely good, and he is good all the time. We said that we were going to talk to you this morning about the federal windfall for Alabama. Now, what do you mean by windfall? We are talking about how much taxes money that we get from the United States, America, all the states in and around America, all of them get money from the federal government. And the state of Alabama is no different than any other of the states in the United States. They get money from the federal government. They get a lot. Alabama get a lot of money from the federal government. Now you hear them talking all this stuff about the government this and the government that, but the state of Alabama get a lot of money. Check this out. Now you can find this if you're a retired teacher, state employee, or you're a judicial person, or you work for the state of Alabama and you're retired, and if you're still working for the state of Alabama, you get this advisory in your mailbox every month. You get a copy of this. This thing comes out. It comes out and it goes straight to your mailbox, and you can read it whenever you get ready. A lot of people throw it in the garbage, but I keep all of them. The federal windfall for Alabama. This article here is by David G. Bronner, and it says, can the billions of dollars flowing into the Alabama create a huge problem in a matter of a few years? I hope not, as we must be wise about how this windfall is utilized throughout Alabama. And the article goes on and say, Alabama has a long and sometimes stormy relationship with our federal government, from complete support in military issues to strong differences concerning states' rights. Our federal government will provide Alabama with an additional $106 billion to the $106 billion already allocated by our governor and legislature. Thus far, the funds have gone into trying to solve a multitude of 50-year-old Alabama problems. Alabama. Well, one of the things that Alabama has the lowest taxes in the United States. I mean, that's just the way it is in Alabama. Alabama don't pay no taxes. You think you being taxed here in Alabama? Alabama got the lowest tax system in the United States of America. You are better than you think you are. You be in some place like California, or New York, or some of them other states, you would be crying. We be crying now, and we ain't even hardly paying no taxes. Okay, we have very old prison facilities in Alabama. They are absolutely right. I worked there for 29 years, that Holman prison. All the prison systems, construct places in Alabama is not up to par. Old and run down. Take a lot of maintenance for them. Do we need new prison? Yes, we need them, but that won't solve that issue. Of course not. Yet it is a good start that we refuse to begin in the past. More changes are needed, such as changes in sentencing, but at least we are starting. Our state mental health system is deteriorating to nearly nothing. Mental health. Alabama got a poor mental health system, but we are trying to solve decades-old problem within the mental health system. Thanks to funding, all Alabama citizens can deserve clear water, working sewers, and waste disposal. And hopefully this new funding will solve this very basic problem. That's the thing about around here. Do you see how when all of that rain was falling down there in Monroe County and around here, how Monroe was flooded? The fire station right across from the water tower flooded. That's because of the poor drainage system. No system for runoff. All of the little towns around here in Alabama, just like Monroe, you let enough rain fall, you find yourself walking in 5 or 6 feet of water, standing because it don't drain off. You don't have an infrastructure good enough to drain off the system. That's all over Alabama. Let's go on. Additional, um, the legislatures also paid down state debt. State got a large debt. Alabama has made an effort to pay down some of its debt. That's a wise thing for all of us to do, to pay down our debt and shore up the state savings account to better prepare for the potential physical cliff. There's some stuff that's going to be coming down the pipe. You think things are bad now all over the United States. You think inflation is high. You think gas is high. Stuff going to get so high you're going to wish you could fly. Congratulations and thank you to Governor Ivey and our legislature for addressing these issues and problems. Well, there's a plug for Sister Ivey. She is looking at the conditions and situations in Alabama, paying off some of the debt, taking care of some of the problems that Alabama had, that Alabama been had for 50 years. Let's go on. Clearly, the first funding given to Alabama has not met decades of needs that will now be addressed over the near future. The second funding to be received this summer or early fall will begin again be monumental for Alabama. In other words, you're going to get some money from the government, Alabama. In fact, that list of needs increases. Anyway, let's go to this. But we need to be careful and smart on the next windfall. Our federal government state has 2 windfalls that must be spent or returned by 2026. In other words, the money that you got already, if you don't go ahead and spend it and do what you need to be done with it, it's got to be returned by 2026. This is what, 2022? You got 4 years to take care of your business, Alabama. All right. Our federal government state has 2 windfalls that must be spent or returned by 2026. Cutting taxes sounds great to everyone who pays taxes, but Alabama will have a real serious problem when federal funds stop. How about that? Alabama is going to have a real problem when federal trawls grow up or dry up. You can call the station at 1-251-362-1935 if you got anything to talk about this morning. You want to talk about guns, you want to talk about whatever. If you want, you can send us an email to freddiechoward@gmail.com and give me your comments. Additional cutting taxes can lead to higher inflation. Look at that. Cutting the low taxes that we do have will lead to high inflation. Man, look at that. More money in people's pockets further stimulates rampant consumer demand. When you got plenty of money, you try to go out and buy stuff. You know why the inflation is so high? So many people got a bunch of money, and guess what? They buying everything and running prices up. You didn't think about that, did you? You ever go out and look at the highways and different things? I don't see no traffic slow down. Go out to the interstate and take a look. Traffic still be zooming. Them people be paying that $4 and $5 a gallon, running up and down the road. I know. Please remember that the state of Alabama enjoyed the lowest taxes. Here it again. What did I tell you? Please remember that the state of Alabama enjoys the lowest taxes in the country. And while we have started to solve some of the issues with the first windfall, prisons, mental health, and clean water, 18 new tax relief bills were signed into law, costing the state's budget an estimated $160 million. Sister Ivy has been cutting taxes in Alabama, and we already not paying too much taxes. I'm telling you right now. Think about the land that you own, how much taxes you're paying on it. You don't pay too much. Think about it. And all these big timber people around here and big cattle farmers and peanut people, they ain't paying too much taxes on their land. They ain't paying too much taxes. Let us not continue to cut taxes with the second influx of money. Remembering the federal Aid stops after the next around without understanding what's happening to Alabama when there is not enough windfall to bail us out. The money gonna dry up out of while, Alabama. Just a little information for you about federal windfall from the state of Alabama. All kind of good stuff here going on. Make sure you find out about that. If you are getting a advisory, that's David Bronner that writes some good ads. I like them. Retired Systems of Alabama at 211 South Alabama Union Street, P.O. Box 302150, Montgomery, Alabama 361130, 2150. Start planning your summer getaways at RSA Outstanding Hotel Spas and golf places. All right. Thank you. As we move around here in the studio a little bit, we hope everything is going well for you. We're going to go back and run that music spot for us one more time. I like that. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. Do you feel the beat? The beat, the beat, the beat of the beat. At House Seat Internet Radio. At House Seat Internet Radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. We are your internet radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. Get your feet, get your feet. Move your feet, move your foot. Clap your hands, clap your hands. We are your internet radio. Alright. Say right there. Rock with me, rock. 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 All right. What do you think about critical race theory? Do you know what critical race theory is? Teaching the past to improve the future. How about that? Despite a range of oppositions, educators are committed to teaching honest history in their classrooms, and students are eager to learn. How about that? You can call us at the radio station here at 1-251-362-1935. We're going to be talking about critical race theory. We're going to be talking about what teachers teach in the classroom, guns in America. Or you can email your comments to freddiechoward@gmail.com. Okay, last fall in South Lakes, Texas, Carroll's Independent School District, administrators provide baffling guidance to a group of teachers following the passage of a state law banning the teaching of critical race theory. Critical race theory. Do you know what critical race theory is? We're going to type in critical race theory right quick, and we're going to be looking it up to see what it says. But what do you know about it? C-R-I-T. Critical race theory. C-R-I-T-I-C-A-L. C-R-I. It's right there. Critical race theory in school. What is critical race theory? What is critical race theory? Why is it on attack? Huh? Why is it on attack? Why is there are some people in this country are talking about critical race theory? What is critical race theory and why is it under attack? Have you thought about it? Have you tried to read about it? Have you tried to learn about it? It is best that you always try to learn and keep learning all the time. I'm telling you, all the time, learn what's going on. Learn what's going on. Learn what's going on. Let's look at what is critical race theory and why is it under attack. This is from the Educational Week. Educational Week is the #1 source for highly quality news and insights on K-12 education. You can sign up. I've already signed up for Ed Week update newsletters to get stories like this delivered to your inbox daily. Let me say something to all of the folks around here in Beatrice and all of you that listen to me anywhere in the world. We got over 100,000 listeners worldwide, whether it be on Blog Talk Radio, whether it be on Mixcloud, whether it be on Reverb Nation, whether it be on Spotify, the Twitter, wherever. Make yourself add knowledge of all the things that are going on. And for goodness sake, don't bury your head in the sand talking about it don't affect me. It do affect you. Okay, is critical race theory a way of understanding how American racism has shaped public policy or a divisive discourse that pits people of color against white people? Liberals and conservatives are in sharp disagreement. Man, what do you think about it? Come on, talk to me. Give me a call, somebody. Tell me what you think critical race theory is. What do you think critical race theory is? What do you think critical race theory is? Huh? You have an idea what it might be? 10, 16, 46. As we load our cell phone here and open it up. The number is 1-251-362-1935. You can call us if you want to, or just continue listening if you will. The topic has exploded in the public arena this spring, and especially in K through 12, where numerous state legislators are debating bills seeking to ban its use in the classroom. I'm hoping that I may be able to call Mr. Sheehan down at the Monroe County Board of Education and ask him a couple of questions or two about critical race theory and what's taking place. A lot of time when you call people, they don't be ready to get on the radio. But anyway, we may give them a call in a minute or two to see what's taking place. In truth, the divides are not nearly as neat as they may seem. The events of the last decade have increase public awareness about things like housing, segregation, the impact of criminal justice policies in the 1990s, and the legacy of enslavement of Black Americans. But there is much less consensus on what the government's role should be in righting these past wrongs. Add children and schooling into the mix, and the debate become especially volatile. In other words, ain't no telling what lie to go down. You hear what I'm saying? Ain't no telling what lie to go down when you get to dealing with stuff like that. You have to know what is going on. You have to know what's going on. God is in control, you know. He's always in control. Educators divided on whether schools should teach about LGBTQ topics. Surveys find lesbian and gay type stuff. What do they need to be telling people about that? We've had everybody know people that are gay or homosexual or whatever. Had them all in. All of us grew up with that. So much running from it. It was a hush hush thing. But now it's just coming out all in the open. It's all, as that song says, all out in the open now. School board superintendents, even principals and teachers are already facing questions about critical race theory, and there are significant disagreement even among experts about its precise definition, as well as how its tenets should inform K through 12 policies and practices. This explainer is meant only as a starting point to help educators grasp core aspects of the current debate. Where are you on this? Where are you on this? I served on the Monroe County School Board. I know some people that are still on the school on the board now. I know some folks that served on the school board. Brother Richard served on the school board. Mr. Nettles served on the school board. Miss Turner is on that now. Reverend Brown was our first Black person on the school board. I was the second person on the school board there for Monroe County. How about that? Mr. Miller Ford, right up here in Beatrice, used to be, he was the white man that represented this district up here. Did you know that? Miller Ford, from right across that school there, from the school there at Beatrice Elementary. How about that? All right. You learned a little something there, didn't you? All right, let's go back to critical race theory. Critical race theory is an academic concept that is more than 40 years old. More than 40 years old. How about that? More than 40 years old. Did you know that? Oh, man. The core idea is that race is a social construct and that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but it's also something embedded in the legal system and policies. Where is you? Where are you on that? What do you think? Listen to that. But it's also something embedded in the legal system and policies of the country of the United States. How about that? The basic tenets of critical race theory, CRT, emerged out of a framework for legal analysis in the late 1970s and early 1980s, created by legal scholars Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard DeLeandro, among others. A good example is when in the 1930s, government officials literally drew lines around areas deemed poor financial risk, often explicitly due to the racial composition of the inhabitants. Banks subsequently refused to offer mortgages to Black people in those areas. Subsequently. In other words, bankers ain't going to lend no money to nobody that ain't got no money. And guess who didn't have money back in the 30s? A lot of Black folks didn't have money. You ever heard of the word redlining? In other words, your district is redlined. In other words, ain't nobody going to be going over there. Ain't nobody going to build no business over there. Ain't nobody going to lend you no money. How about that? Now, why is the spotlight on critical race theory? Why is the spotlight on critical race theory? Okay. Now, if you want to find more out about critical race theory, go to you got cell phones, you got the cell phone, you got computers. You go find stuff out. Don't sit around talking about what somebody else is talking about, and don't be sitting around talking about it don't affect you. It do affect you. Today, these same patterns of discrimination live on thoroughly throughout facially race-blind policies. Today, these same patterns of discrimination live on through facially race-blind policies, like single-family zoning that prevents the building of affordable housing in advantaged majority white neighborhoods and thus stymies racial desegregation efforts. Let's say a little something about Beatrice, Alabama. You know we have a declining population, and the school population is going down, down, down every year. I'll be out there working in the gardening, and we have about 10 or 12 kids in our pre-K. 10 or 12. Mostly, probably about 10 or 12. No more, no less. Sometimes I'll be out there, y'all only see 5 or 6 come out. You know why that is? Because everybody around here in Beatrice, Turner Spring, Riley Crossing, McWilliam, Hilbert, Vettenberg, and all of these surrounding communities, there is no housing. There is no housing. And I see a lot of folks with houses sitting up with nobody in them. And my family got 2 houses right on the corner there. Nobody living in them. And all the people that do have houses, that take possession of houses, a lot of them sitting around here empty. What do you got the house for if you don't let somebody live in it? Is it because you can't find nobody to rent it out? Or folks that do need a house won't pay the rent? Well, that's true too. That's everywhere you go. But we need housing around here bad. Okay, if we had an industry or somebody to come in here and build some houses, if somebody had some money, you talking about our investment in this area? I ain't talking about no houses stacked on top of each other where you can hear what the next house is saying through the wall. But I'm talking about nice, separated places with decent where people can come and live with a family. It's a problem. Poor housing. That's why our pre-K in the school around here in Beatrice is dropping 0 to 0. Did you know that? It is important that we take care of business and understand what's going on. All right. A good example is when in the 1930s, government officially drew lines around areas deemed poor financial risk. I'm doing that again. Often explicit due to racial composition of the inhabitants. You ever thought about when the saying is across the track? Did you know that? We are separated by a railroad track from downtown? The white folks on one side, and up on the north side, the black folks live. That's still true today in Beatrice, Alabama. South of the railroad track, all the white folks live. There is no black folks down there in downtown in that area around Beatrice. Nobody. Even today, 2022, there is nobody down there. You ever thought about that? Huh? You ever thought about that? Why is that? That's the same thing. Okay? Let's go back and look at a little bit more information about critical race theory. More information about critical race theory. All right. What about critical race theory? What do you know about it? Huh? What do you know about critical race theory? Have you even thought about it? Huh? The same patterns of discrimination live on in America today. Cross the track, up the track, all sheep from down across the track. You don't know where they live. Huh? More and more we look at things, look like they remain the same, don't they? Look like they remain the same. Why does any of these have to do with K-12 education? Scholars who study critical race theory in education look at how policy and practice in K-12 education contribute to persistent racial inequalities in education, advocates for all ways to change them. Advocate for ways to change them. You can do that, but you got to be a knowledge of the situation and of the problem. Among the topics that studied, racial segregated schools are underfunded, and majority of blacks and Latino school district disproportionate black students, barriers of gifted programs that selected mission high school and curricula that reinforce racial ideas. Now, let me tell you something. I don't care who you are, where you live, and what you do. You can. All right, I got Rashard calling me in. Let's see what my. Hold on, Rashard. Just a minute, Rashard. I'm on the air, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and play something for a minute, and you stay right where you are. As soon as I get something on, I'm going to hit that button, and me and you will talk a minute. Hold on just a second. Do you feel the beat? The beat of the beat at House Seat Vineyard Radio. At House Seat Internet Radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. We are your internet radio. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. Feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat. Get your feet. Move your feet, move your foot. Clap your hands. We are your internet radio. Alright. Stay right there. Rock with me, rock. Rock. All right, we're back. Son calling in, checking in. I called him anytime he called, or I call. We make it our business to follow up. When your children call, or when your children call you, or you call your children, pick that phone up and call each other back. You can call the radio station at 1-251-362-1935. We are talking about critical race theory. We are talking about critical race theory. Critical race theory is not synonymous for currently relevant teachers, which engage in from the 1990s all the way up until now. These teaching approach seeks to affirm students' ethical and racial background is intellectually rigorous, but it is related in one of its aims is to help students identify critical critique the cause of social inequalities in their own lives. What do you, as a teenager, the teachers, what in the classroom here? I'm looking forward to the conversation with Mr. Sheehan at the Monroe County Board of Education. And I'm hoping one of the principals will talk about it. How is it affecting what they teach and what they teach in the classroom. And another thing, is time out for being scared to talk about what's going on in education. If you're a teacher or you're a principal or a student or whatever, ain't nothing wrong with talking about the situation that affects your business. That's just like Sheehan was talking about the issues of security at school. Somebody can walk in and go shooting around here just like anywhere else. I know you can't walk in the shields just like you want to, but when they have events going on, you can walk around there and you'll find a door open somewhere. I'm serious. You need to tighten that up. But anyway, many educators support to one degree or another culturally relevant teaching and other strategies to make schools feel safe and supported by Black students and other undeserved populations. Students of color make up the majority of school-aged children, but they don't necessarily identify these activities as critical race-related issues. As one educator put it, what is culturally responsible teaching? What is culturally responsible teaching? I know when I was going to high school, Mr. Bob Crawford, when it comes to history, Bob Crawford didn't cut no corners. He laid it all out. He laid it out. I'm telling you right now. I don't know who your history teacher was, but if Bob Crawford knew about it, he told you about it. As one educator put it, the way we usually see any of this in a classroom is, have I taught about how many Black kids feel? Have I taught about how my Black kids feel? Have you ever asked, if you're a teacher or you're an educator, have you asked them about what is taking place around them and how they feel about critical race theory and how about that past? We ain't teaching it no more. Some are not teaching it and made a space for them so that they can be successful. This is the level I think it stays at for most teachers. Like others interviewed for this explainer, the teacher's educator did not want to be named out or fear of online harassment. What did I tell you? Scared to talk. Scared to talk. I manage some educators around here in Monroe County scared to talk. I'm going to find out, though. An emerging subtext among some critics is that curricular excellence can coexist alongside culturally responsible teaching and anti-racist work. Now, I saw on Facebook the other day a young man from J.F. Shields High School attending an event where the 99% of the folks there were white. And somebody made the comment where he could see it, is there any more Blacks there? Are you the only Black there? I'm going to tell you, that young man that was attending that, I bet you that affected him. It might not have. I'm going to ask him sometime about it. But I made a comment right behind it. And I left a love thing behind mine. Because there's something that only qualified people can do. And only something highly qualified people can do. And for our Black folks that attend schools here, there is an opportunity for you to be excellent. You got a computer, you got a library, you got the opportunity to find out anything that you want to. If you want to excel in math, in chemistry, whatever it is, you can do that. You don't have to be hampered by where you are and what's going on. You can learn anything you want to. You want to play basketball, you got to be the best basketball player that is in the world. Football, the same thing. If you want to be a scientist, you got to be the best scientist in the world. There's an opportunity for you to do that. Go to the library, read everything that you can find out about science. You want to be study botany, you want to study chemistry, you want to study space flight, whatever it is, you want to be an airplane pilot. There is opportunity for you. Don't get hung up on this stuff because I'm at a black school, this, that, and the other. You can do anything that you want to. You can do anything you want to. Like others' interviews, you can do anything you want to. An emerging subtext among some critics is that curricular excellence coexists alongside cultural responsible teaching or anti-racist work. Their argument goes that efforts to change grading practices to make the curriculum less eccentric, in other words, less dealing with cultural issues and things like that, goes that efforts change to grading practice will ultimately harm black students or hold them to a less high standard. That is all kind of bull. Don't let that stop you from being excellent in your classroom. You teach and you motivate children to, once you teach, to go further. When they go out there to the Pacer garden, I tell them to go online. If we studying about fish, look up that type of fish. If we plant peas, look up that pea. Find out about it. If you plant collard green, whatever we plant, go online and study that plant. Go in your library, in the library there, see and look up gardening. You can be the best gardener there is in the world. You can grow anything in the world. You got to understand what goes into making a plant grow. You got to understand how much putting fertilizer and different things in the soil can get the soil messed up. You got to do it the right way. Okay, let us go on. As with critical race theory in general, its popular representation in school has been far less nuanced. The recent poll by the advocacy group Parent Defending Education claimed that some schools were teaching that white people are inherently privileged, while black folks on the other peoples of color are inherently oppressed and victimized. No, that is true to a certain extent. 20, 30 years ago, that is true. Black folks, every time they get a hand up, somebody chop their hand off. Every time they get a house, somebody come along and burn the house down. Every time they try to reach up a little bit, somebody chop the ladder off. That was relevant. But now you can reach whatever heights that you want to. But there in subtle places, it's still going on, but it's not going on like it was. You can do anything that you want to. You can reach any standards that you want to. Don't let somebody build no box for you. That achieving racial justice and equality between racial groups and requires discriminating against other people based on their whiteness. Hey, I don't hate no white folks. When I was coming up, they tried to get my mama to send me outside because I violated some of their the rules of the day. One of them was that once you drive down the road on these country roads, you pull off to the side road and you let white folks go fast. But one day I didn't do that. You don't have to pull over down on country road and let no white person pass. You may slow down with respect, or they slow down with respect for you to come by because the road is narrow. But back then, you better not do that. You better get off that road for that white person. Now you don't have to do that. The United States has changed, but yeah, and there is still issues between blacks and white. That's just like right here in Beatrice. I'm going to make it my business. If they are willing to come to my house, invite some of them to my house. If they don't want me to come to their house, that's it. If they don't want to come to mine, that's their choice. But I'm going to try myself personally, before I leave this earth, to break down some of these barriers in Beatrice, Alabama. I am going to personally try, and I hope that I will be able to do it. But I'm not going to sit back and talk about things that ain't changed. Things have changed. Thus, much of the current debate appears to spring not from the academic text, but far from fear among critics that students, especially white students, will be exposed to supposedly damaged or self-demoralizing ideas. I wonder how many white folks down there at the academy study what the Ku Klux Klan and racism history and of the past Alabama did to Alabama and to black folk. I'm wondering, and here's the thing about this. There is still people with that stuff in them now. Now, I have been gifted with the ability from God to, when that is in a person, a white brother, sister, or a black person, God singles it out to me like a siren. I can tell it. I can tell it just like that. While some district officials have issued mission statement, resolution, or spoken about change in their policy using some of the discourse of critical race theory, it is not clear to what degree educators are explicitly teaching the concepts or using curriculums, material, or other methods that implicitly draw on them. For one thing, scholars say much scholarship of critical race theory is written in an academic language and published in journals not especially accessible to K through 12. In other words, at the higher grade levels, the higher college level. Not too much of it is taking place at the K through 12 level. I can remember a time down here, that was a situation when we were building the baseball field and the concession stand over at the Beatrice Elementary, that I went to this certain company man that had a business, head of a business here in Beatrice. I went to them 10 or 12 times trying to get them to give us a donation or lumber so we could help build. Do you know I never got that lumber from that white brother? I went to him so many times, it was sick. But he never gave me one stick, nothing, not a dollar, not a donation, nothing. Did I hold that against him? I'll make it my business when I walk in the post office, even to today, that I speak to him, and I keep speaking until he speak or he walk out. That's right today in 2022. All right, what is going on with these proposals to ban critical race theory in the school? Why if folks want critical race theory? Come on, you figure you're going to say something that'll offend white folks. White folk know what they did, especially their grandmamas and granddaddies. How many white folks talk to their grandmamas and granddaddies about how black folks were treated? How many black folks talk to their grandmamas and granddaddies about how they was treated? I remember one time in Beatrice, when I was coming up, my father was overseas, and my father had bought some land and through the bank, and Daddy was sending money home to pay his bills and stuff. And one time, Daddy sent some money home, probably several times, and Mama went to the bank to pay that, and there was a man in the bank who had the nerve to tell my mama that he didn't do that kind of business with no black woman. And there ain't no black woman gonna come in his bank and pay no bills on no land that they own. You know, he do other kind of business with black women, but not no financial or business with no black woman like that. Man, Mama wrote that and told him what was taking place with the payments that she supposed to be making to the bank. Boy, when Daddy came home, I'm talking about Willie Lawrence Howard, my daddy, Willie Howard. Daddy took that money that Mama had saved to pay them bills. Daddy went to that bank, and my daddy signed that note. Not the note that the bank owned, but he got his information on his copy. He signed that thing, paid in full legally, and guess what he did? He threw the money in there to that banker and walked the hell out. That man was pissed at what that banker had did to his wife. In other words, he told Mama he didn't do business with black women like that. Well, what kind of business do you do with black women, white brother? That is type of stuff I experienced here in Beatrice. Alabama. All right. Anyway, it is important that we do understand what is going on with the problem that poses to ban critical race theory in school. As of mid-May, legislation purporting to outlaw critical race theory, there, in other words, they're talking about stopping critical race theory, is schools have passed in Idaho, Iowa, Oklahoma, Tennessee, have been proposed in various other state houses. What is being done here in Alabama? What is being done in Alabama about critical race theory? Let's dig into that just for a minute. Alabama and critical race theory. Let's see what they say here. Alabama and critical race TH. Alabama and critical race theory. What about it? What about Alabama? Alabama and critical race theory. Huh? Let's see here. We're gonna continue to look for it, but anyway. Critical race theory. All right. Critical race theory, and let's type in Alabama, ALABAMA. Critical race theory in Alabama. There may be something about it. It may not be. And here's another thing. This thing about the end of the white race and all that kind of stuff, and we were not replaced. That's just sick stuff. God gonna do the replacing when he get ready. Critical race theory. What is critical race theory? Is it taught in Alabama school? This was as of June the 18th, 2021. That's a year ago. Let's see what they got here. There is a video here. We don't know how long it is, but we're going to check it out. We're going to see what it's saying. What is critical race theory in education? Critical race theory, we've been talking about that. What is critical race theory? Is it taught in Alabama school? Is it taught? Huh? Alabama K through school do not teach critical race theory. And we are not aware of any teachers asking students to read the legal or academic scholars who created the school of thought from the 1970s. We are also not aware of any recent critiques or Alabama school diversity initiative or efforts to broaden history or curriculum related to critical race theory. So it appears that if any students around here, and even this is that's from 2021, I don't think it's changed that much. It may have changed. That's why we need to talk to school boards and talk to superintendents and some of the teachers about what is being taught in Alabama about critical race theory. We're going to go ahead and tag this post here, bookmark it, so we can read about it later. State school boards want to keep critical race theory out of the classroom. The Alabama Education Lab has compiled some definitions and explanation of issues that have come up in our coverage and other media reports. Though review of scholar research, news reports, and initiatives, interviews with experts to share our own thoughts about how schools should approach the politics of race and racism. Fill out the form and email it to alabama.com. Okay, about how to talk about racism with children. Please let us know. If the teachers are, what is the situation? What is the situation so far as critical race theory? We hope we can get some of this information here. We hope we can get some of that information here. We'll skip the ad and we're going to let it play.
The term critical race theory as they push for schools to change how they approach topics of race and racism. 22 states are considering or or have already passed new policies in the past year. But what is critical race theory exactly? Critical race theory is a concept developed by Black legal scholars in the 1970s. It states that racism is common for most people of color in the United States, is woven into American policies and laws, and goes beyond any one person's individual actions or prejudice. Other scholars and activists broaden the original concept to talk about how racism is prevalent in housing, education, healthcare, and more. For example, in K-12, theorists might use critical race theory to explain why more Black children in Alabama are suspended from school than white children. The disparity is bigger than any individual child or school administrator's actions, they say, and points to bigger flaws in school discipline processes. Critical race theory doesn't ask anyone to treat someone differently because of the color of their skin. It's just one way to explain why some people in the U.S. are treated differently because of their race, and it says that disparate treatment did not end in the 1960s. We aren't aware of any schools in Alabama teaching the theory to children, but other concepts like culturally relevant teaching and social emotional learning are used in teacher professional development and diversity training. Those concepts ask teachers to think of curriculum that might resonate with individual students and their unique family and cultural backgrounds. But again, those terms and techniques don't mean educators are using critical race theory, or that any efforts are being made to make children hate themselves or their history. Conservative lawmakers say they think some recent efforts to talk about race and racism in the classroom are unpatriotic and divisive. They point to some recent incidents in schools where white parents, teachers, or students report being uncomfortable about anti-racism or diversity efforts. On the other hand, others say history textbooks, reading lists, and lessons have long been whitewashed, and that new, honest ways of teaching about race and racism are overdue. In Alabama, State Rep. Chris Pringle has pre-filed a bill to ban critical race theory in schools, which means we'll be talking about this one way or another for a while. With the Alabama Education Lab at AL.com, I'm Ruth Servin Smith.
Right. They went over some of the things that I had said in regards to that. With that, critics of critical race theory claim it discriminates against white people and encourages victim mindsets in which white people are oppressors while students of color are victims. Now, we are oppressed because we want to be oppressed. And I say that not lightly. Nobody can, just if you like it, let's take an example of oppressing the vote. In other words, somebody's doing something to prevent you from voting. Ain't no way in hell nobody can prevent you from voting. If you get registered, you go to the poll and vote. You can oppress the vote yourself. So for race and situations like that, you can do that to yourself by refusing to interact with people, by refusing to make what is best for you. There is no barriers for you reaching any heights that you want to, Black person. No white person can stop you from reaching any heights that you want to. The mindset which white people are oppressors, you oppress yourself if you don't take care of your business. You oppress yourself if you don't pay your bill. You oppress yourself if you won't work. Not to say that white folks pay their bills and all white folks work. They the same way. There are white folks that don't want to pay their bill. There are Black folks that won't pay their bill. There are white folks that won't work. There's Black folks that work. And people of all colors have them same problem. Opposition to Critical Race Theory in the New York Times, book 1619. And guess what? I took myself down to J.F. Shields' library, and I decided I was going to read that book. And there it was sitting in the wide open, that book, the 1619 Project. How many of you all in the Beatrice community that went out to the library and read that book, 1619? They got it right there in the library at J.F. Shields High School, which are something referred to the integral changes by critics has grown across the country. At least 22 states have passed or considered legislation policy restricting how race and racism are taught in schools. According to Chalkbeat, that includes Alabama. What is the 1619 Project? Huh? What do you know about the 1619 Project? Huh? What is the 1619 Project? Have you ever heard that before? What is the 1619 Project? The 1619 Project is an award-winning initiative launched by the New York Times in 2019. The 400th anniversary of the arrival of first slaves, African slaves in Virginia. It includes a collection of stories, essays, poems, and photos from more than a dozen contributors. The project centers on the country's history of consequences of slavery and the ongoing contributions. It is powerful information. The project centers on the country's history, on the consequences of slavery, and the ongoing contributions of Black Americans. Black Americans making contribution to every aspect of life in this world. Black people have influenced it. In the 1619 Project, the 1619 Project has been criticized by former President Donald Trump. You reckon that might explain why so many white folks love Donald Trump? You reckon? I'm just saying. Are other conservatives who say the project and its premise are un-American? Whoa, look at that. It has also criticized by some historians who disputed the project's interpretation of historical events. In other words, they say they didn't get history right about how Black folks were treated and how white folks treated Black, who disputed the project's interpretation of historical events. The majority of American historians and social scientists, however, agree with the project's overall premise that slavery was an intrinsic part of America's founding. Slavery was an intricate part of the founding of America, led to the Civil War, and continues to impact the lives of its residents today. Yes, it does. But you don't have to let it affect you. It's built into the system. You can still overcome it. There are towns that have right now have across the track, up the track, down the track, across the track, from across the track. Did you all see the movie where this young Jewish girl, young Black girl, was involved with one of during the Holocaust? I watched that movie yesterday. That was an interesting movie. I'm telling you. Most critiques of the project have come from politicians. They can't do a that blame thing about guns, but they sure can do something about critical race theory. Politicians who have proposed banning funding to schools that use the project school curriculum and have asked to remove it from federal grant program. Look at that. Scared white folks. Scared someone will be talking about what you did. It is not. Is critical race theory currently taught in Alabama school? I'm going to say it again. It is not. This is as of 2021. The Alabama Department of Education does not mandate the teaching of any particular curriculum. Rather, the agency adopts standards about things students are expected to know and to be able to do at certain grade level. Then districts and teachers find curriculum and writes lesson. In other words, Alabama wants you to learn, and they want you to learn the best and most you can, and make sure your teachers teach so that you can advance and grow academically in math and science and everything else. They don't tell teachers what to teach. They just want students, the district and teachers, and rather the agency standards about things students are expected to know and to be able to do at certain grade levels. That's where Alabama deals with it. Why can't teachers just teach history? Huh? Why can't teachers just teach? Why can't they just teach history? History as it is. Well, they do, but nationally, child advocates have been encouraging educators to consider expanding the historical figures and movements they discuss in classes to include more people of color. How did you think it affected the folks here in Alabama and around in areas and throughout America when all them Civil War heroes from the South statues were being removed? How do you think that affected white folks? How do you think that affected black folks? What if everybody in America start taking down statues of Martin Luther King or things about Martin Luther King, black folks? Some white folks didn't want it done, but they are up. But then we raising hell about Civil War monuments and things like that. They didn't start growing like hell until the civil rights struggle began. You know, they start putting them up, look like they're saying, all right, y'all black folks, we're gonna keep you in your place. Let me remind you what we did to you and who did it. For example, Black History doesn't have to be something that just taught during Black History Month. Black history can be taught 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In February, students might read essays by Black thinkers, discuss the rich history of math in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa, and learn about unique artists, traditions, and different African cultures throughout the year, rather than talking about slavery as something that just happened to people of African descent. Slavery happened to all human beings. There were slaves in the Bible. Rather than talking about slavery as something that just happened to people of African descent, it happened to all colors. Teachers could make sure to talk about slave revolts and various ways that enslaved people fought and achieved freedom. Harriet Tubman, what did she do? What did she do? Education experts say such expansion of history and curriculum aren't just exercise in wokeness. When done well, they can have real benefit to students' engagement. Real benefit in student engagement. Huh? Real. All right. Let's look at this. Educators have said that such expansion of history and curriculum aren't just exercises in wokeness. Well done well, and there can be real benefits to students' engagement and retention. A 2016 study by Stanford Research found an ethics steward studies curriculum increases high school students' attendance, GPAs, and credit earned by surprising larger amounts. What does this debate mean for Alabama students? Alabama Education Board of Education considered a resolution at their June meeting that said the board believes that the United States of America is not an inherent racist country, and that the state of Alabama is not an inherent racist state, and that it would prohibit the teaching of concepts that input false blame and tendencies of oppressing others on the need to feel guilty or anguish to persons solely because of their race, sex, or in public schools. Have you read the Bible? Do you read the Bible? The Bible will scare you the hell out of you at what we did, at what human beings did to each other. And we've been doing it to each other ever since Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden by God. Human beings do rotten, sick stuff to each other. Human beings are inherently evil, and we are evil. God said so. There is not one good one, human. We all sinners. And guess what? Racism and all this stuff about critical race theory and what we do to each other come from? From sin. And who are sinners? All human beings. Blacks, white, pink, colors, all human beings. Huh? Don't get caught up in being a fool on this stuff. Teach your children, black, white, pink, whatever. We all rotten. And if we are not guided, we will come out to be rotten and go to prison and end up on death row in death chairs. All human beings. The resolution received immediate pushback from the Southern Poverty Law Center, which called it an obvious dog whistle for a racist movement largely influenced by highly organized conservative groups to intimidate educators. to intimidate educators. Huh? To intimidate educators. It is an obviously dog wishes to race movement largely influenced by a highly organized conservative group to intimidate educators and prevent them from teaching any lesson that the history of race in our country. State officials said they might vote on a resolution at the board July meeting. Man, oh man. Alabama, Alabama, Alabama. Good morning, Alabama. Beatrice, Alabama. Alabama officials also in the midst of updating the state's school social studies standard, which in turn will influence the textbook and curriculum schools choose and potentially the topic teachers introduce in class. We hope you have enjoyed this portion of Good Morning Beatrice, Alabama 36425. Now, I want to tell you all about a book that I have here. It's called William Warren Rogers, Robert David Ward, Lou Rawls Atkins, and Wayne Flint, Alabama, the History of a Deep South State. You can go to the library there in Monroe and check this book out or request it. You can go to the library and check the book. You need to read this book. Alabama, the History of a Deep South State. The History of a Deep South State by William Warren Rogers, Robert David Ward, Lee Rawls Atkins, and Wayne Flint. You need to read this book. And another book you need to read, 1619. Another book you need to read is the book 1619. Make it your business. Huh? Make it your business. Critical race theory does not tell people what to think. It merely is a framework for attempting to explain why 60 years after the civil rights movement, Black children are disciplined at a higher rate in schools than white children. Children of color are more likely to live in poverty than white children. Black students perform worse on standardized tests, even when poverty isn't a factor. The schools that deserve major non-white population get billions less than schools that serve majority white population due to the historical issue of redlining and segregation. It is the individual children, parent, and school administrators aren't each at fault. Theories say the system must be. There are some things in there that you need to be aware of. If you want to be dumb, you can be white and dumb, black and dumb, any color and dumb. If you want to be lazy, you can be white and lazy, black and lazy, or any color lazy. It's about applying yourself. Don't let somebody depict what you be, put you in a box. You want your children to behave, you whoop their butt at home and don't let them do what they want to. You take care of them. You do what they say. Black folks do that. White folks do that. You want your children. What did God say about it? Spare the rod. You do what? You spoil that joker or you spoil her. Are disciplines at higher rates in schools than white children? Because they didn't get their ass whooped at home. Black folks, white folks, same way. Ain't nothing wrong with that. What is critical race theory? And this thing about white folks being scared about what we teach, like I said before, everybody know what they did and still doing. It's Alabama. It is American history. Teach real history. Teaching the past to improve the future. Let it be known. We have some dark and ugly moments in our history that we have to reckon with. But discomfort's okay. Discomfort is where often we find the most growth. Did you know that? Did you know that? Truth, empathy, and making connections. Uplifting local history. Teachers won't back down. Teachers do not back down. What's at stake? What's at stake? Huh? No educator can actually map out the whole landscape of our history alone. We are all stronger when we traverse the terrain together. Partners in honest teaching. It was at one point illegal for black and brown children to even learn how to read. And now that we have made progress in some areas, it's like we have to find another way to exclude other ways to marginalize. Learn how to read and begin to read. The most successful students in high school and in college level and they excellent in life is the ones that read. Pick up a book and read and get off that cell phone. From slavery to school discipline, the continuum of control. Envisioning schools that affirm and protect black students mean reckoning with the long history of racist punishment and the pathology that fuels it. We got a hell of a history in America when it comes to black folks. Barriers to changing approaches in schools. All kind of good information. Students get tired of reading about how their people were treated when you don't get the story about how their people overcame. If you're going to tell them about how they were treated, tell them about how black folks overcome. If you want to tell them about white folks doing and stuff with the Ku Klux Klan, tell them about how white folks helped the people that to get out of slavery. Tell both sides of the issue. With their campaign, they are taking away mirrors for kids who so desperately need and deserve to see themselves in a book. The promise of rural schools. Now, we are rural schools here in Beatrice, Alabama. But what can we do in Beatrice, Alabama to help this school grow and begin to get children back here? You can draw from Camden, Beatrice, Riley, Carson, anywhere there is small children and surrounding areas. Put some housing down here in Beatrice. The rich history and diversity of rural communities have largely been erased, appreciating both charts and promising paths forward. It's good information. A strong sense of justice can form in a young child's mind when they read books that tell the truth. Tell the truth. I'm going to speak it here as God has given it to me here on Good Morning Beatrice, Alabama. When they grow into adulthood, that sense of justice can guide them into how they vote and where they work. Our children are native every day. You ever think about how the Indians were done in this country? Huh? Who runs all the gambling houses in America just about now? A lot of white folks run some, but the ones around here locally and around this area, them Indians that were denied different stuff, they still getting up. Students were completely engaged because they knew that they were learning something about themselves. Teaching local history. Teach local history right here in Beatrice. The Beatrice Legacy newspaper. Guess what it's about? It's about the legacy of Beatrice, Alabama. I found out the other day, Sunday morning, that Darryl Perriman from over there in Clark County and over there from Camden went to school at Beatrice Elementary. And his mother taught at Beatrice Elementary. Miss Ethel Bell loved Darryl Perriman's mother. The change we need in the textbook is one that they're not willing to make because they are not ready to have that conversation. Let students question the parts of history. A textbook's case. Textbooks are embedded white supremacist structure. Is that true? A lot of textbooks kept out stuff that white folks did to black folks. There are no excuses to continue allowing sugar-coated education with inaccurate information to dominate. A teacher's first duty is to their students. Teach them. Teach them. All right. We thank you for joining us here for good morning. We thank you for joining us here. And why history? More than 2 sugar-coated paragraphs. Protecting immigrant students' right to a public education. Some good information here. Using inquiry to teach honest history. The relationship, as students say, teach the truth. Partnering with families to support Black girls. Ask, investigate, advocate. I want to teach honest history, and I want it to be sensitive and respectful in how I do it. I don't want to say the wrong thing. What advice do you have? Prepare yourself, study, know what you're going to teach. More than 2,000 Confederate memorials still exist. How about that? The 3rd edition of the Whose Heritage Report shows that there are more than 2,000 Confederate memorials still present in the United States, including 200 schools that remain named for Confederates. Recent efforts to remove Confederate memorials offer inspiring insight that can assist several social justice advocates working to create fairer, freer, and more just public spaces. In 2021, 33 schools were renamed or closed more than any other previous year. You can visit opporcenter.org, Whose Heritage full report, and learn more about the movement to the remove Confederate memorials. Okay. Powerful information here. Teaching hard history, American slavery. Learning for justice. You want to get a copy of this book? Learning for Justice. Go to learningforjustice.org and subscribe. Learning for Justice is a project of the Southern Poverty Law Center, 400 Washington Avenue, Montgomery, Alabama. Learning for Justice. It comes to my mailbox there at the school. The Forgotten Slavery of Our Ancestors. This is recommended for grades 6 through 12. Learning for Justice. Powerful information. Teaching hard history about slavery. I have said that many times. The moment students remember talking with students about transgender athletes. Let me offer my 2 cents on that. Girls compete against girls, boys compete against boys. Enough said. Men compete against men, and women compete against women. Enough said. All right. 30 years of learning and counting. Great information here. The curb cut effect of champion equity. All kind of good information for you. All right. We hope you have enjoyed today's Good Morning Beatrice, Alabama, coming to you from 231 6th Avenue. You can call the radio station at 1-251-362-1935. Nobody called in today, but we're going to stay at it anyway. You can call 251-362-1935. We have been talking about guns and other things, issues. We was talking about critical race theory today. American. You can email your comments to freddychoward@gmail.com. You can email your comments. All right. Beatrice, Alabama, 231 6th Avenue, 36425. House Seat Radio listeners, good morning. You can find us on Blog Talk Radio. You can find us on Reverb Nation. You can find us all over. We are in the Beatrice Legacy as well. And don't forget to pick up your copy of the Beatrice Legacy down at the Whitaker Drugstore, right down that town. Brother Riley's in the drugstore there. He will put it in your hand. The copies are $2 each. Don't forget about the Culture Center. The sign is still up there where it says the future home site of the Culture Center. You can see Miss D.D. Odom. You can see Mr. Mose Daly. You can see myself. It's a 501c tax-exempt organization. You can make a tax-exempt contribution to it, and you can get it back on your taxes. Also, the Beatrice Garden Club. They are 501c tax-exempt. They are in the process of doing things and selling stuff to build a veteran memorial downtown here in Beatrice. Go by the Beehive and buy something. Also, the Alumni Association, 501c, we were instrumental in getting that done while we were part of the Alumni Association. We're still part of it because we are JFC's alumni. They are going to be having a event this weekend, June 18th, right there at JFC. It starts 7:30 in the morning. Get yourself in shape. Bring your water and walk. Do whatever. Support. Make a contribution. All right? If you can't make a contribution, spread the word about it. Tell other folks about it. Do something. Okay? If you want to find out about the Beatrice Culture Center, there's a website for it. www.beatriceculturecenter.com. Donate. HTML. Donate to the Beatrice Culture Center. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. All right. On behalf of all of us here, we want to say good morning and thank you, and we will see you tomorrow morning. It is 8:30 here now in the big city of Beatrice. I believe we came on at 6:30 or 7 o'clock this morning. But anyway, God is good. You all take care. And you want to find something out about what's taking place, get yourself out there and read. Okay? Don't forget about the Beatrice Legacy newspaper. Get your copy. Don't forget about this now. Also, the June 10th celebration, I'll be a part of that on the square there in Monroe. It'll be Saturday. We'll be down there about 6:30, 7:30 in the morning setting up sound equipment. All right. Y'all take care. God bless you. And you'll see you another time on Beatrice, Alabama, 36425. Good morning, Beatrice, Alabama. As we close it out with a little bit of music for you. We're going to see what we can find to play for you. As we close it out, we're going to run that same 3-minute spot back for you. Let's run Judgment for you. See you next time. Good day.
The ominous sound of the wheat and the tares. The ominous sound of the wheat and the tares. Danger, danger is near. The ominous sound.
You know the wheat and the tares, they all go together. You know the wheat and the tares, they are all in the same car. Only God can judge. Matthew 3:12 speaks about the wheat and the chaff. Matthew 13, 24 through 30, speaks of the parable of the wheat. Matthew 13, verses 36 through 40, Jesus explains the parable of the wheat. Matthew 13, 40 through 43 verse. You know, at the end of time, Jesus and his angels will separate. They will separate. I said, church, just not leave you be judged. Just not leave you be judged. Oh Lord, just not leave you be judged. Just not leave you be judged. Just not leave you be judged. Just not.
The Bible speaks of being judgmental. Are you judgmental? Are you judgmental?
You know, Matthew chapter 13, verses 40 through 43. There are true and false believers in the church today. But we as believers should not be judges, because only Christ is qualified to make the judgment. Judgment is for Christ to make. If we as Christians don't stop judging, if we continue to be judges, we shall be judged also. Do you be judged? Oh, church, judge not. Do you be judged? Let the wheat and the tares all grow together. Let the wheat and the tares all grow together. Jesus at his second coming, and the host of angels will judge and separate. Jesus and his angels will separate.
All right. Y'all be careful now. See you next time on Good Morning, Beatrice, Alabama, 36425. Make sure you get your copy of the Beatrice Legacy. Take care now.